to Unapologetic and Free, our new series called
You Don't Know My Story.
I'm Lekia.
I'm Shar.
We're sisters by blood
and friends by choice.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to our new series, You Don't Know My Story. We are excited about this new series because it's an opportunity for people to share their story. So often we encounter people day to day, but from the outside looking in, right, we don't know what someone may have gone through. And so we created this show to give people an opportunity to share and encourage someone else to live another day, to encourage someone else that this is just a chapter in the book, but it doesn't have to be the final say.
Now, we hear the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. So a lot of times we meet people and they seem like, or they have everything together, but don't judge their story based upon the chapter that you walked in their life on.
Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are excited to have our special guest on tonight. We have Pastor James Peters. He is coming to us from San Antonio. He is originally from Donaldsonville, Louisiana. He is an owner of JP Soul Food Kitchen and Catering, where he specializes in Louisiana-style soul food. In addition to JP Soul Food Kitchen and Catering, he also is the mastermind behind JLP Please and Barbecue Sauce. Currently, they have 14 flavors, 5 sugar-free. James Peters has a story of deliverance. James Peters has a story of what God can do, where God can take you from. And so we just want to welcome Mr. Pastor James Peters to the platform tonight.
Hey, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining Unapologetic and Free and telling us your story.
Thank y'all for having me on this wonderful show that y'all have. I'm excited. I can start so many ways and go so many places and tell you a story about my life. But I want to hit on one subject, maybe two. And it's about suicide. Coming up, where I came from, coming up, it wasn't rough, it wasn't bad, it wasn't, you made your choices in life and what you've done. And I chose to go the wrong path. I was a great athlete. I played football, basketball, and I got injured. I couldn't play anymore. So that was something that I was looking forward in my future to do, was to play sports. But unfortunately, due to an accident and messed my knee up, that messed me up. Around that age, 12, 13 years old, I got involved with drugs. I started smoking weed. Me and some friends, we just started smoking and going to school every day, smoking weed, getting high, doing kid things that we thought was right, but and in that, I escalated into a heavier drug, cocaine, start doing that. I had my sister was involved with this guy that was a drug dealer. So I mean, it wasn't nothing for me to get anything, but in that, I got addicted to it. And as I got addicted to it, things start to go down in my life as a young person, as a teenager. Quit school. Anything that I've done or tried to do in life at that age and moving forward, becoming an adult, I failed at it. Okay. But in that, I started doing other things, stealing, lying and doing this and doing that, and I was just messing up the relationship with my family. My grandmother was an insurance lady, and she used to have these people money, and I used to take it, in order to support my habit. You know, I was addicted at an early age, 14. I believe around 14, that's when I really got addicted to drugs. Uh, Moving forward, years went by and everything. Uh, I found myself getting deeper and deeper. I moved around here, moved around there, uh, you know, tried this and tried that in life to try to better myself. And, you know, I always fall back to that same thing, always fall back to drugs. At 16, I went to a rehab. I stayed in a rehab for 49 days. The day I got out of rehab, I went right back to where I was doing the same old thing over and over and over again. You know, it was just a ongoing thing with me. My family, I stole from my family. You know, it was at a point where I couldn't really go to nobody's house without them watching me or anything like that. Um, and one day, you know, after my mom passed in August 18, 1994, a day before my birthday, my mom passed away. Okay, and from then on, for a very long time, I held that on in my heart, that hurt right there in my heart. You know, first of all, I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel the loss when she first left because my mind wasn't right. I was on drugs. I mean, I was, you know, what they say, when my mom passed away, I had a crack pipe in my mouth, you know. But that hurt, yeah, at that moment for a second or whatever, but it went away. And you know, it took a long time for me to realize that my mom wasn't coming back to me, you know. So I just got deeper and deeper. You know, it got to the point where I have anywhere to go, nothing to do. And so one day I got in trouble and I ran and I ended up by my cousin's house. And for some reason, I took a pill. For the first time, I took a pill and it did something to me. You know, it did something to me. And I can hear a voice just telling me that's your way out. That's your way out, you know. And I'm like, okay, say that's the way out. You know what I'm saying? The enemy was trying, that I know today that that was the enemy. Then I did not know. Today I know that it was the enemy trying to get me to take my life. You know what I mean? So I knew where the pills was and everything, and I went in there. I was trying to go in there to get those pills, and I could not move. I was stuck in a place where I could not move. I mean, it was like I couldn't move my fingers, I couldn't move my feet, and I couldn't do nothing. I was just stuck, and I wasn't able to get up and go get those pills to do what the enemy was pushing me to do. You know,
Wow.
and for some reason, I really thought it was a good idea because I had nowhere to go, no friends, no family that could trust me, you know. But that's when I can go back a little bit because that wasn't actually the first time. I'm gonna go back some years back when I was at a depression stage of my life and I wanted to take my life. My mom was living at that time. My mom she was sick, but she was in the next room and I was in the middle room and I had the gun to my head and couldn't pull the trigger. You know, I don't know, jammed or what, but I don't know, my strength wasn't strong enough or whatever, but I couldn't pull the trigger. So that was the first time I tried to commit suicide. Then what I told you earlier, that was the second time. The third time I tried to take my life is when I was in, forgive me. That was the third time. The first time I told you about the suicide, that was the third time. The second time is when, after my mom passed away, was after she passed away, I tried to take my life. Again, you know, The only person that came and saved me from that was my dad. You know, for some reason he got to me before it happened. You know, again, I couldn't go through with it. It wouldn't happen. You know, it's only by the grace of God that I know today that saved me and still have me here today. You know, suicide is a very serious thing. I contemplated on it a whole lot. You know, and the few times that I tried to do it, I didn't succeed. As I stated earlier, everything that I touched, everywhere that I went, anybody that came into my life, I destroyed the relationship or destroyed the situation. I did it all because I thought it was all about James. You know, I wanted the attention. I wanted this. I wanted that. I wanted eyes on me. I wanted to be this person. I wanted to be that person. But I never stood still to find out who I really was. And that was a big thing. Even with my brothers and sisters, you know, our relationship was shaky. You know, my brother, he almost disowned me. He didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I thought, until I really gave up and gave my life to the Lord. And when I gave my life to the Lord in 2006, you know, everything changed. That suicide thought or those thoughts never came again. My relationship with my family has escalated. You know, I have a true relationship with my family today. That is truly a blessing. You know, I can go on and tell you a whole lot of stuff that I've done in my life, you know, that, you know, you really would, why are you still living? Or how are you still living? You know, and living in Atlanta, the same thing. You know, people could have been killed me or whatever, you know. I mean, I just thank God that none of it was a success in that area. You know what I mean? Because I should have been dead right now. I really should have been dead from the things that I've done, the people that I've hurt. You know, again, I thank God and continuously thank God for that.
How did you give your life to Christ, or how did you even come to know God?
Well, someone told me about Victory Gospel, told me about this place that they came to and they got their life. And this person is a female, I don't want to call no names, but she came to this place, and when she came back home, and the way she looked was amazing to me because I knew where she came from and the lifestyle that she lived. And she told me about this place and told me what this place does and all that. So I decided that I wanted to go. You know, I decided that I wanted to try this out because I've tried rehab. I tried everything else that I could possibly try, and I wasn't successful at it. And in 2006, June 22nd, 2006, that's when I came into Victory Gospel Spiritual Growth Center, and my life has changed ever since then. Yes, I had my struggles, my ups and downs, my backslid, you know, over the years, but for these 15, 16 years that I've been here in San Antonio, under the leadership of the late Bishop Donnie Banks and Prophetess Mama Jackie Banks, you know, my life truly has been turned around for the good, you know.
How many times or how many different rehabs did you go to before?
It was starting at 16. I went to one rehab 3 times, the same one 3 times. I think I did about 5 or 6 rehabs. And you know, there wasn't, I know they call a person a chronic relapser, and that means that there's nothing that they could do for that person. You know, they wouldn't even allow a person, a chronic relapser, to come back into the rehab because it's a cycle. You just keep on doing. But they didn't diagnose me with that. You know, I just stopped trying to go to rehab. You know what I mean? Because I knew that that's what, you know, if I kept going back and forth, that what was going to happen. But I see no use in it. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't doing nothing for me. It really wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't doing nothing. You know,
What would you
I
say
needed
was
more.
the difference? What would you say was the difference between when you were going to rehab and when you found Victory Gospel Spiritual Growth Center?
God,
That's a good question.
Jesus, God, Jesus. From what I've been taught and what I know today, that AANACA, whoever A, all that would do, it could save your life, but Jesus saves your soul. You know,
Now,
and
when you
that's
were
the
going
difference.
to, I'm sorry, when you were going to your rehabs, were you going to those rehabs within the state that you were from, or you were going outside of the state?
In the state that I was from. In the state that I was from, but out of the city limits of where I was living. You know, so it was Baton Rouge, New Orleans, you know, that's far away from where I'm from.
Okay. So it was
You
an inpatient place where you stayed there every day, or
Yeah.
you just went there and left? Okay.
No, this is a place that you have a bed. Greenwell Springs Hospital, it was a third floor. It's called a third floor. That's where I was my first rehab for 49 days.
So do you think that you were in and out of these rehab places for shelter? Because you said your family, you know, turned away from you. So does that mean that you were homeless?
I had shelter. I just had a problem.
What does that
And
mean? You had shelter, but you had a
I
problem.
had shelter, I had somewhere to live, but I had a problem with drugs. I had a problem of not getting myself together. I couldn't keep myself together. You know what I mean? So, and another thing about going to rehab and stuff like that, it's like 2 or 3 times that I went, I didn't go for James. I went because my grandmother
Because
wanted
somebody
me.
else was forcing you to go.
My mom wanted, my dad, my people wanted me to go because they was tired of seeing me looking the way I was looking and doing the things that I was doing. You know, so in that obviously that's not going to work because you're trying to get right for somebody else instead of getting right for yourself.
That's right.
And that's
So
another
what
difference
was it?
that I'm in now, because when I gave my life to the Lord, didn't nobody know about that. You know what I'm saying? I did that on my own. But somebody had to tell me about it.
So you know how they say people hit rock bottom? Did you hit a point of rock bottom?
I wouldn't say I hit rock bottom. I said because in my Christian walk, I backslid. You know what I mean? I've heard that saying rock bottom. I know people hit rock bottom and just stop cold turkey. You know what I mean? If you ever heard that term before, just stop cold turkey. Stop, you know what I'm saying? So I've heard it, but it's different. It was different. You know, I mean, and a part of me didn't want to stop. You know what I mean? It's a part of you that don't want to stop. It's like when you give your life to Christ, you got to give your whole life to Christ. You know what I mean? So if you're going to give yourself part of God, you know, only part of you going to work. The other part is somewhere else. Your mind is somewhere else. Your heart is far away from where God wants you to be. You know what I mean?
So do you
So
have anything that you would say was a turning point in your life after? I know you indicated that you backslid. So was there something that happened after you backslid to bring you to present day and where you are today?
See, I
yes,
think that's where I
yes.
was going with the rock bottom question. That the way you worded it is a lot better.
Well, that became uh, hearing God's voice. Hearing God's voice. You know, I've been through a lot in the world. I've been through a lot in this Christian walk. I've seen a lot. Uh,
So are there parts
but
of your story that you're uncomfortable sharing or talking about? Is
no,
it some, okay,
I'm,
because what I'm trying to ask is after you backslid, what happened after that in that backslid stage that then ended up bringing you back to Christ to contribute to where you are today? I mean, did you move? Did you go back home? Did you go to jail? Did something happen in your backslidden state?
Oh,
it,
you know what? Yeah. Yeah, because when I first met you, I remember sitting on, we were at our dad's house, and Lekia had asked us all a question. Do you remember that day, Lekia?
I
You had
don't.
asked us a question like, if you don't, you had asked us if we knew what a spread was. And
Oh,
so
okay.
we all were like,
oh my God.
no, no. So, James, you proceeded to start telling us what a spread was.
Oh my
So
God.
then I remember listening, and you were like, oh, yeah, it's something that they eat when you're in jail. That's how you said it. So
Yes,
I'm listening. So then I remember saying, you have a lot of knowledge about how this spread is made. Is there something
yes.
you want to tell us? And then that's when you were like, oh, I've been to jail. But I never went into, I didn't go any further. I didn't judge. I did nothing. I was just like, oh, okay. And then we just moved on to the next.
Oh
Um,
no, I'm very comfortable of speaking about anything about my life. I have no embarrassments at all about my past, present, or nothing. I went to jail. Moving back uh, after my first marriage, I backslid in my first marriage. Okay, and after that, we split up. I got more into drugs. I opened my house up to be what they call a trap house. So my house was 24/7, running 24/7. So make a long story short, there I got busted with drugs. They raided my house. I went to jail, uh, so on and so forth. But in that, I got 5 years probation. In that same year that I got 5 years probation, that's when I ended up going back into the ministry on the west side and ended up getting in trouble there and getting kicked out. So that right there, I had nowhere to go. I was homeless at that time,
Is
but
that
only
rock
for like,
bottom?
huh?
Is that considered rock bottom?
No, no, because I'm right now. When I got kicked out of the ministry, I'm still good with God. You know what I mean? I'm in there with the Lord, and I found a way to get home. The only thing I did was I ended up going back to Louisiana because I didn't have anywhere to go here. You know what I mean? So I ended up going to Louisiana. I ended up getting the job. I ended up start doing good, going to church, doing everything that I'm supposed to do. And something happened on the job that I got in trouble on the job and ended up going to jail. And when the people ran my driver's license, oh, this was like a year or two later. Oh, matter of fact, it was a year. 2015, and I ended up going there in 2016. 2017 is when 2016, December 2016, that's when I got in trouble, November 2016. And they ran my driver's license. I had a Texas driver's license. They said they ran it. They like, Texas is looking for you. They want you. So bam. So, I mean, they extradited me back to Texas, Bexar County. I stayed in there 6 months. But in them
That's a
6
jail?
months,
Is Bear County, that's a jail?
yes,
Okay.
Bexar County Detention Center. Um, And in those 6 months, you know, what God had imparted in me, what God had put in me to be able to share with other people, I took that in jail and was using that in jail to help people. You know, I could give you so many testimonies on the people that was in there that didn't know Jesus, that was, you know, ended up falling at the feet of Jesus. You know what I mean? But yeah, that wasn't rock bottom. My rock bottom wasn't rock bottom. My backslid and my eye-opening experience with God truly got me to be who I am today and where I'm at today. You know, my last time when I was out of the Lord, I wasn't on drugs when I went to jail. I wasn't doing this and doing the things that I used to do. You know, I was trying to make it, but I was making it in the wrong way too. You know, don't get me wrong. I wasn't no saint, but I was. I mean, hey, I was trying. But I ended up back in Bear County doing these 6 months. I mean, you know, it's so interesting because when I went in November, I went to court in January and I was released. It's a little testimony about what I was doing in a jail for the Lord. I was released actually in January the 6th, 2017. I was released. Credit for time served. They had to do a TAP evaluation on me. And I was supposed to be released after that. They came the next day after court and did that TAP evaluation and ended up staying until April. You know, wow. Now my mind is I'm tripping right now because I'm like, why am I still here? And I'm calling everybody. I'm trying to get in touch with the judge. I'm writing him letters and this and that. And I'm talking to the sheriff department. I'm trying to talk to any and everybody who want to listen to me, you know. But I heard the Lord say, I asked God, why am I still here? What is the reason why I'm still here? And he pointed to those people, you know. And so I start ministering more to those people. I start praying for those people. I start crying out to the Lord for these people that was in here, 74 men in this place, you know, that wanted prayer. A lot of them was embarrassed to come and ask for prayer because of who they was. Have people in there with 25 years to go to prison for 25 years. And you know, and when they gave their life to the Lord and everything, and we prayed, and, you know, because of my faith, you know, these people didn't get these 25 years. I mean, this was 3, 4, and 5 time losers. You know what I mean? And that was God showing me, that's what I give you. That's what you have in you for, to be able to help somebody. You know, teach them the way. You know what I mean? Introduce them to me. You know, if people was released from jail. They have one guy in there, he had got sentenced 10 years. He about to go to prison in 2 or 3 weeks, maybe, if that. And he finally ended up talking to me, and I asked him if there's anything he wanted, you know, me to pray to the Lord for him on his behalf. And he said, yeah. He said all he wanted to do was go home and spend time with his family before he go to prison. And he said that's a hard thing to do. That's because he know that he wasn't going to be able to do that. We prayed. I prayed. I laid on my bed and face down and cried out to the Lord on his behalf. And not a couple of days later, they called him down there, called his name and his bunk number. And we know he wasn't getting transferred to the prison because they don't do that till in the wee hours of the morning. Mm-hmm. Came back up and they said they need you down in booking. He came back up there in the dorm and he just looked and he just smiled and, you know, cried like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He said, man, I'm going home. I can go home and spend time with my family before I go to prison. They put an ankle bracelet on him. You know what I'm saying? So God was using at that time to be able to go there and help some of these people that is lost. They had people coming up and they never read a Bible and say, Lord, somebody please give me a Bible to read. Yeah, that's me. That's my cue here. Come on.
Right. So tell us about today. Tell us about Pastor James Peters today. What is it about your story today that you would like our listeners to know?
Well, from what I've told you, I'm true evidence of what God can do in a person's life. Today I am a business owner. Today I have a beautiful wife. My kids. Another part of my story is I had a daughter that I never met before in life. I mean, in about 30 years, to make a long story short, right at 30 years, she came into my life. In 2021, back in March of 2021, she came into my life. God has been good to the Peters family. Truly has been good to the Peters family, to the point where, I love to spread the gospel. I love to tell somebody about Jesus. I love for someone to see who I am today, rather than who I was 15, 16 years ago.
Are you a homeowner? Do you have any accomplishments like that?
Yes, we do have a home. We just purchased our home on my birthday, August 19th of 2021. I see your face, Shar. Yes.
Well, that is awesome. Again, I failed to mention that I am Mrs. Peters, in case y'all didn't catch that. I am his wife. And so again, we're just grateful to have you. We're thankful for your story and being able to come on and share with us about where you've been, where you're at. If there's anything you could say to our listeners about where you're going or what your plans are for the future, what would you want to say to them?
First and foremost, staying focused and staying in the face of the Lord. Because if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, I really, really don't know where would I be. And my plans for my future is, to own my food truck. I want me a food truck. I want a building, to business. I need a place to better my business. And I'm thinking and petitioning the Lord for that. And I believe that's
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being open and vulnerable and transparent to where you've come from and where you are today. We greatly appreciate it. Because it's not very often that you can get a man to come on and share what they've been going through and minister to other people. So when I see a man that's open and honest, I truly am just like in awe of it, because you see women more than you see men. So I appreciate that aspect of you coming on and sharing your story.